Well, let's move forward with the world of financial technology, rapidly evolving around the world with new innovations and achievements. But there are emerging developments as well that are getting users and industry professionals worried. So the theme for this year's Nigeria's Fintech Week, resilience, innovation, and diversification, was quite timely. Now, speaking with me on this and other latest fintech industry news is Bajomo. He's the president of Fintech Association of Nigeria. Bajomo is a banker and a technology professional. It's great having you live in the studio tonight.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for coming.
And congratulations on the award you won recently on the Africa Energy.
Thank you so much. What can we do without energy? I'm sure in fintech, folks, you also need energy, isn't it?
Indeed. You know, that's talking about ESG, environmental and the social aspects, and climate change. And there are lots of fintech innovations around that. So we really need to start moving away from paytech, which is where the bulk of our fintechs are concentrated, into other forms of fintechs that can really power Africa's development and actually also see sustainability, and the environment and the social and economic issues being brought into play as well.
And the sustainability issue had been something you've been part of in your days with the Nigerian Exchange.
Indeed.
Yes.
We launched the first green bond, if you would remember very well, at that time, really, and started doing a lot of work along those lines. Now it's come to the fore, and I think, there's a lot of space for innovation in the power sector, in the solar sector, billing sector, to really come up with some really interesting stuff.
And the bank, your Access Bank, was also the first in Nigeria to do a private bond.
Indeed, at the time I was there.
Remember that as well.
As well. So maybe it's something about green technology for me.
Well, I'm sure these conversations were all part of the FinTech Week, which was quite a big one this week. What further innovations are you seeing across the fintech landscapes across the world and in Nigeria and Africa?
I mean, the biggest theme that is screaming at everybody now is the use of AI. Overused to a large extent. It's probably still largely machine learning, which is what we've done for several years. But it's now been taken to new levels, new algorithms with generative AI. When you have things like ChatGPT that everybody knows, but there are other ones coming up, Bard. So Amazon today demonstrated the capability where organizations can literally have access to build their own AI models, generative AI models, which is very, very powerful. And we're seeing lenders, beginning to incorporate data, machine learning, making more and more of those available, either through credit scores. So if you take a company like Verify Me, for example.
I was about to ask about KYC issues, I'm sure, which you know very well.
Absolutely. They're beginning to bring in data from not just one source, but several sources. Really, really interesting stuff, like 6, 7 sources to aggregate it together and really profile somebody very, very well, rather than just one single source of data.
Do you think that will bring a whole lot more confidence in the marketplace, financial marketplace, which fintech is co-joined?
I think there's a lot to be done as far as trust is concerned and fraud. We need to take a step back. Put differently, the fraud industry is probably one of the fastest growing sectors if they were a legitimate group, because the money at stake and what they're making over the years is just phenomenal. So in digital payments alone, between 2021 and 2022, the growth rate of fraud is 27%. That's from LexisNexis report. So you can just see that it's highly lucrative. But we can't fold our arms. It just means that we also have to do a lot more. And fintechs are particularly much more vulnerable, because it's as much a game of, it's an arms race. So you need tech, you need investment, you need money. But there are many ways fintechs can actually protect against this, really. The fundamental rule is simple. There's no such thing as 100% security. It's a fallacy. And there are only 2 types of companies: those who've been hacked and those who don't know they've been hacked. So once we recognize that, the first thing is you shouldn't be ashamed that you've been hacked or whatever. So put that aside, but to keep quiet when you've been hacked, actually, you're making the rest of the industry vulnerable. So we have a CEO subcommittee of Fintech NGR, that's the Association of Fintech.
The one in Nigeria.
Absolutely. And one of the top items on the agenda is actually putting together a structure that will enable fintechs to get stronger, with fraud, cybersecurity, and all of those. And at the bottom of that will be reporting. We have to share that information.
Industry-wide?
Industry-wide, just like the banks do it today, That's very
because you do think we're beginning to see bringing something close to financial system stability in the banking sector to the fintech world.
Indeed. And indeed, to be quite fair, the baseline rules for fintechs are not too different. And we recognize that many of our fintechs, I mean, let's park the real global crisis, the inflationary trends, and the alternative use of capital. So if you look back 2-3 years ago, capital was flying into fintechs in Africa with the Russian war in Ukraine, with cost of living crisis and all of that. The capital is finding other sources as well. So fintechs are not getting as much capital as required. So that's why we chose this year's
innovation,
theme, which is around resilience, innovation, and diversification. Because we must actually know that, failure is not necessarily a bad thing if you learn from it. But why do you want to fail when you can actually learn from those who know how to survive?
I was about asking that because fintechs are coming under pressure. Some fintechs are going under. What are the key issues here? Was it governance? What is it, lack of money?
There are several issues. Yeah. So if you take the first wave of fintechs around the 2017 to 2019 and all of that, the philosophy and principles were sort of fundamentally different. You almost buy capital, you pay, so you buy customers, you pay your way, you have an idea, you acquire customers. So the customer acquisition cost was just not sustainable. Yeah, and if you don't acquire those customers quickly enough, then you don't get it. A lot of people jumped into pay tech, the pure financial technology, and that's
pure vanilla.
Exactly, and that's strategically a danger point that many people are still jumping into it now. So so if you have a clear, distinct value proposition that the incumbents cannot copy, fine, go into it. But if you're going to fight the banks who are incumbents and fight your existing fintechs who are coming in, then you better have a really unique value proposition to bring to the table. So that's part one. Part two, that's the second point. Then number three, quite frankly, is the talent issue. Talent is a real deep problem, and we're not just talking the baseline talent. A lot of the good talents have quote unquote jackpad, as we all know, but there's still a lot of really good talent there, but they're in high demand. So how do you solve that problem? It's great to see the government initiative of training 3 million. That's a good Nigeria. That's a good start, but we need deeper than that. For us to be really the kind of technology we now need to evolve into has to be beyond just being end user consumers of deep technology, if you see my point. And what I mean by that is we don't build operating systems. We can argue, we don't build generative AI engines. Yeah. We don't build all of those. We use them. Yeah, that's great. It's a great starting point. But we're now in the fifth industrial revolution. If we don't start moving up through the value chain, we will look back centuries from now and ask the same question I'm asking. Where were our ancestors in the first, second, and third industrial revolution?
Yes. do you see some point and some growth and game-changing plans in what the new minister in FinTech is doing, Bosun Tijani? Is he sounding some right notes as far as you're concerned?
I think there's some very right notes. There's no question about it. The building talent is a great theme. I like the recent points around consolidating our data sources. That data and the ability to consolidate and interoperate the data, clean it up properly and make it available in a secure manner is extremely important.
You wouldn't miss that from NGX to CSCS.
Indeed.
So I'm sure you got data here. You know why data is important.
We all know, and if we're really, we talk a lot about fintech, but what we're trying to achieve there are many things. So of course, we're trying to achieve efficiency, we're trying to achieve payments transparency, but we're also trying to do financial inclusion and economic inclusion and fraud prevention. So if you're going to do financial inclusion, leveraging technology to the last mile, which we know the banks cannot do for economic reasons, it has to be digital. So if that's to be digital, then we have to make more investments in the last mile. We have to make sure that everywhere in Nigeria is covered. There's still about 30-40 million people who don't have digital signal on their phone from where they live.
So those are basic infrastructure.
So those are basic infrastructure that we have to solve so that we have proper digital inclusion. It is digital inclusion and financial inclusion that is really now going to take us to really where we're going. And then when everybody is digitally and financially included, and we have the data available in a reliable way, just imagine, then the possibilities are endless. So if somebody's going to make a lending decision to a salaried person, that lending decision is easy because I can look at the bank account and say, oh, yeah, they earn this amount, the money's there. If I'm going to lend to somebody in the rural area without any formal employment, it doesn't even have any digital footprint. How do I do that?
For you to punch into.
That's it. So that person is
ask questions.
But imagine if that person has a feature phone. That feature phone has just basic wallet on it. Yeah, we can see the transactions the person is doing. We might be surprised what we're saying there. Yeah, if we link the databases together,
we can track some high level of turnover.
Exactly, and we can say, gosh, some fraud came from this account to that, from that wallet to that wallet. Why can't we just block that account?
So cybersecurity was one of the discussions the Fintech Week, was it?
Indeed. And indeed, tomorrow is actually a day on diversification. We're talking not pure fintech and general stuff. We're talking about prop tech, reg tech, so health tech, and all of those things as well. But if there's one thing that keeps coming about, it is that cyber. It will always be there, but the responsibility, which is also very important. Clearly, fintechs have to raise the game across the board. But the consumers as well must be very aware. Yeah, you're the best protector of your own data and your own cybersecurity. So you do your IT stuff first.
You got to put your data, got to put your money where your mouth is.
Where your mouth is.
And vice versa. So when you folks are closing the whole FinTech Week, what will be the key takeaways?
Without a doubt, the key takeaways would be around, guys, we have to be more resilient. We have to take a step back. Innovation is key. Yeah, and to compete and survive, you must innovate. But diversification, having one product, one trick ponies, in a climate like this is going to be extremely, extremely important. But more importantly, I hope that those who have attended, and we've had a big turnout this year. Isabel, we've got displays in 50 booths, lots of innovative companies. So if you've not been there yet, go there, just walk around the booths. It's fantastic. And I hope people are curious to learn, curious to improve their own thought processes and ideas. Curious to share information, curious to connect, and more importantly, just grow that ecosystem. Because by growing that ecosystem, we create jobs, we reposition Nigeria as the leading fintech capital in the world, and we're growing the economy, more importantly.
You're very excited.
I am.
I'm excited as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good having you here, making the time to come, despite all that is happening there at the FinTech Week. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for your support.
Bajomo, thank you so much. You're the president of FinTech Association of Nigeria.